in my apartment. I was opening a box of mac and cheese with boiling water on my stove. This was 2 hours ago. The stove is not off. Here's where the thought process is at. I chuck a shoe. Do I have a ball? Oh, he is so cooked. My stove is still on, by the way, guys. I do have toilet paper rolls. Should I try another thing of toilet paper?
Great hockey team, the Soviets.
Oh my god, 2 are on the stove now.
Automatically, this paragraph comes out that
Y'all, I haven't eaten in 48 hours, and he's still... Okay. I should put on a hood that has, like, one that... I think I'm ready. I did it. The apartment is safe.
What's going on, everyone? This is the Aggie Gameday Extra Podcast. I'm senior Texas A&M sportswriter Travis Brown. Over here, Maxwell Crawford,
Hi.
chief meteorologist. Over here, we have, a familiar but new face, Erin Patterson, filling in for one Tyler Shaw, who we'll get to in a second. But Erin, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Now, before we get to Tyler Shaw, I don't know if people who are watching this on the video version, or if you're listening, you're going to be really confused. But we had our little cold open. Can you explain to us what happened there? What did we just see?
So first of all, I would like to blame my mom because she let the wasp into my apartment. That's first and foremost. She thought she killed it. She did not kill it. And I got home from work and I was making a box of mac and cheese, and out of the corner of my eye, you see there was the wasp there. And I don't do bugs, okay? Everyone has their fears. Mine are bugs. I don't hate all bugs. Like, for instance, there are 3 bugs that should be in this world, and that's it.
Okay.
Ladybugs,
Okay.
butterflies,
All right.
and fireflies. That's it.
Okay.
That's all the world needs. Wasps are not necessary to us. All they are is a nuisance, and it wreaked havoc on me.
I think by the next time we have the show, we need to have like an etymologist on here to explain why wasps are important. Just for Erin.
They're
Just for
not
Erin.
honeybees.
That's fair. So okay. Well, the wasp
Is dead.
is dead.
Is dead. Yes.
He gone.
And
Gone.
you did set a toilet paper roll on fire.
Yeah. That was poor judgment on my part. But I didn't have anything. I hadn't fully moved into my apartment yet. I was living on an air mattress at this point. So that was my only best aerodynamic thing that I could throw after the Nerf gun failed.
Well, I want to. What was the thought process with the Nerf gun?
Well, I ran out of shoes. So
Naturally.
So I'm
Nerf
thinking
gun comes next.
I'm thinking to myself, what can I throw? And in that moment, so first of all, I was thinking, do I have a ball? And it was on the light fixture. So I couldn't throw, like, I had a couple softballs sitting in the back of my closet, but I couldn't throw a softball at my
Fair.
light fixture. So I was trying to think if I had something plush, and one of the only boxes that I had with me at the time was from my nightstand drawer. And in said nightstand drawer was a Nerf gun. I just have it in there. I don't know why.
Some people, for safety, have like a bat or like
Well,
maybe
again,
even a firearm. But if someone comes, you have. The Nerf
I have
gun
to.
ready.
First of all, that
Yeah.
Nerf gun is very powerful. My mom shot me in the face on Christmas with that Nerf gun. Yeah, that's again besides the point. She did feel really bad, but I had like a welt on my face because she was also a lot closer to me. But I remembered I had the Nerf gun, and I guess I was nervous. I don't know, but I had pulled the trigger, and as I pulled the trigger, it was one of those guns where the piece comes down to load it, and my hand got caught when you pull the trigger, the piece goes back up to shoot the bullets. And my hand got caught in the bullets, so both bullets in the gun shot out. And then they were stuck in the kitchen because they kind of did a little loop. And then I couldn't go and get the bullets to reload the gun because they were in the kitchen underneath where the wasp was. So then the toilet paper rolls came into play and the stove was on. And well,
the good thing is you didn't panic.
Exactly. I did the following night, though. The following night, when it had been, again, I say 48 hours since I had last eaten because he was in my kitchen, I did DoorDash raid to my apartment. And then that's
Nice.
how.
Well, hold on. I want to put a pin in that statement right there. You hadn't eaten in 48 hours, so you DoorDashed raid, not food.
Well,
You gotta take care of
you know what?
business
I
first.
never even thought about
You
that.
know,
okay?
it's okay. It's okay. All we know is that you were safe
Exactly.
and the wasp is dead, and that is all that matters.
That's all that matters. It doesn't matter how long it took or how it happened.
Exactly.
Keep that raid on hand for next summer too.
I have 3 bottles of
There
it
you go.
now.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit here about one Tyler Shaw, because the reason he isn't here is him and his wife welcomed a little baby Shaw. into the world.
baby.
He's so cute.
It is KBTX baby number 4 this year.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
Yeah. The Egan's, Katie Opperly, Alex Egan had theirs.
Mhm.
You
Yes.
had one. Our Connor, our buddy over at the 3.
Yep.
They had
That's
one.
number 4. I believe that's all we're expecting for the year.
I think we're done.
Yeah.
Babies. For
In
the year.
fact, Connor back from paternity leave, and Alex will be back before the end of the month.
Yeah. There you
That's
go.
good. Tyler, you'll see him around eventually.
Yeah, he gets a little time off.
I think
so-
he'll be back for the really important games.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so. He's leaving us with, the other than the Notre Dame game, which we will get to today. He is leaving us with, some winnable games.
Yeah.
Some winnable games. Well, let's get right into some of the headlines from this week. And it's an open week, so we get to kind of look a little bit more heavily back at that Notre Dame game. Let's start with the fact that Bryce Anderson, both in statement from the athletic department, and Mike Elko yesterday at the Houston Touchdown Club, also on the SEC teleconference, said Bryce Anderson had suffered no catastrophic injury. It was a scary moment there on the field during the Notre Dame game when he went down, had to get carted off, was taken to the hospital as a precautionary measure, had feeling in all his extremities, they said, during the game. But they expect him, Mike Elko said on the SEC teleconference, he expects that he can make a return this year to the football field. So, Max, you were watching at home. What did you kind of think? What was your vantage point of that? Because that was some scary moments in that game.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know if I saw anything better than you did or anything like that, but the announcers were, by the way, it was a great broadcast crew. That NBC crew was awesome. And, they were aware of it very quickly. And I just, said a little prayer for Bryce and all the players on the field and stuff like that, because, when they went through the replay and things like that, I think you could kind of see where the impact was. And then, of course, there was hardly any movement, and I forget who it was. Maybe like Albert Regis or somebody was like kind of tapping him on the upper back and realized that it was more than just your average injury. So yeah, it was just like any other injury that like really can bring a complete halt to a stadium and the atmosphere and stuff like that. And I was just waiting for a thumbs up, and thankfully we got one. Like
Yeah.
that's all you wait for in that situation is you're like, okay, are there any extremities moving and stuff like that? And my wife's a physical therapist, and so she kind of was giving me some medical, just stuff that I could watch for and things like that. And I at one point when I saw him do the thumbs up and that he was conscious and breathing, we were like, well, at least he's got feeling in his upper body,
Mhm.
But him, he posted on Instagram after the game and stuff like that. And then we found out that he even got to go home with the team. So, yeah, I think that's about as good of an outcome as you could possibly hope for in that situation.
You always know it's scary when, by that time they had the backboard out there, but they took the face mask off the helmet to get the helmet off, and so you were really worried about his condition. But yeah,
Right.
like you said, he got to go home on the plane. Mike Elko said that provided a boost for the guys.
Yeah.
They also said, they were playing for him out there in the second half. So good to see Bryce Anderson is seemingly avoided anything very traumatic in that instance. So we'll be looking to see if he gets back on the field or when he can get back on the field. Scooby Williams is a little, weirdly enough, is a little bit more mystery behind that. Mike Elko didn't really delve too much, just said that they're still kind of undergoing some tests with him. It's hard to necessarily fully pinpoint what might have happened, other than I think he was injured on the interception play.
Right.
Because he that's basically where he exited the game there in 3 minutes left in the second quarter. And, we saw him go in the training tent. We saw him go in the locker room. And in the second half, I believe he was in street clothes on the sidelines. And so he had some really good games lately, and it'll be interesting to see what the prognosis there is, especially frustrating for a guy who last year was revealed played with a torn meniscus most of the season, and so he was finally back to 100%. You kind of had your eye on the game. What were you, first off, I mean, how important was that interception at that time, and what have you seen from Scooby so far?
I mean, obviously the interception, I think, completely shifted the game. I do think it is interesting that we don't really know what's going on with his injury, because it was just so random. And then even when Elko was talking about it at the Houston Touchdown Club yesterday, he was like, I'm not touching on this. I know why you're asking the question. He was funny about it, but it is interesting. But I think if he's out long term, that's going to be a huge hit to A&M's defense. Not that they don't have guys that can replace and take on Scooby's role, but he is, I think, a pivotal part in that D-line and has been. So it should be interesting to see if he's back on the field, when he's back on the field, if we learn anything more. And, I mean, they're going to have to find someone that can take over his role for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mario Craver, wide receiver, the guy that I didn't think was going to be the guy this year, maybe 2 or 3. He leads the nation in receiving yards after this Week 3 matchup at Notre Dame with 443, back-to-back 100-yard-plus receiving games, 200 yards plus against Notre Dame. Erin, was this the guy? I always thought it was going to be Casey Concepcion as the guy. Did you think that he would be the guy that was going to be A&M's best target?
I also thought it was going to be Casey, but I definitely did think Mario Craver was going to be in second to him. I just from the few fall practices and fall camps that I was able to get at, you could tell that he kind of just had something special about him. And anytime you saw Marcel and him in practice together, which, again, very few and far in between, you could just, I don't know, it was something about it when you would watch him throw to Mario Craver that you knew it was comfortable, and there was that type of connection there between wide receiver and quarterback that you need to make these big-time plays.
Mm-hmm. Max, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I assumed that Casey would be the guy. Excuse me. And I still think that he is. I think that Casey is going to end up being every bit as clutch as Mario Craver is, but Mario Craver to me is like if you took Aniyah Smith and made him even twitchier and added some top end speed, and just his ability to not want to go down is awesome. But I mean, Casey had some phenomenal plays that he made in that game too, just being open and going up and getting some catches that had a little bit too much mustard on them. But I think both of those guys are a home run threat every single time they get the ball. And that is just something that we have not had in a really, really long time, especially having 2 receivers like that. In fact, I don't know that as long as I've been watching A&M football, we have had 2 guys quite like that. Mm-hmm. We talked about some comps a few weeks ago about when Josh Reynolds and Christian Kirk were both on the field. But I think that KC and Mario Craver are both more talented than Reynolds, and to me it's almost like we have 2 Christian Kirks on the field. So yeah, I knew that there was something special about him. I don't think that I thought it would translate so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, everybody else is taking notice for sure.
We'll get a little bit more into them naturally as we talk a little bit more about that game. But Max, Aggies are in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
They went from in the AP from 16 to
Yes.
10. Do you like A&M in the top 10 at this point in the season?
I don't mind it. I mean, we have done what has needed to be done at this point, and that's kind of what I figured when the preseason rankings came out, is that maybe this is a top 10 talent type team, but all the pieces haven't been put together yet, the execution and things like that. And so I think the AP and the coaches kind of thought, you know what, let's just put them in the mid to upper teens. And let's just see what happens, because what was it, like 16 and 19 preseason ranking, and obviously 2 G5 wins are not going to do much for you. But yeah, I think it is deserved, considering what some other teams have done so far this year. There are a couple of teams ahead of that. I don't know. You could argue maybe A&M could be a little bit higher than, but yeah, this is not like I don't know. For instance, I think in 2022 we were preseason number 6. And we know how that season went, right? Like it doesn't have that feel to it, which kind of bleeds into the next bullet point that you have there. But yeah, I'm fine with it. This is not like a top 10 ranking that I'm like, oh, please don't rank us. Like that was a big win, and I think we deserve every bit of it and have just as good of a resume as just about every other team in the country right now.
Now, Erin, I know to start out the season you had some hot takes about Ohio State. They're on top here. What any hot takes about the top 10 here?
You know, I actually don't really have any hot takes about them, or about the top 10, I should say, right now. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Right now. My hot take for top 25 this week is, why is a no-win Notre Dame still there?
Yeah.
That should be, and I think that's going across the country right now. I think everyone's on the same page, so maybe that's not considered really a hot take. I think they maybe should have been out there 0-2 on the season. I don't understand really why they're there. For the Aggies, I actually think the number 10 is a really good place for them right now. And I think it is, like Max was saying, I do think it was well-deserved. They took down number 8 Notre Dame. They did their job, and now they're being rewarded for it. Something Elko said yesterday that I find really interesting is he brought up last season and how they went 5-0. They were at the top of the SEC. They did all of this stuff, but they didn't handle it well. And, it ended up being an 8-4 season. So I think now what it's about is, we're still early in the season. I mean, a lot of game to be left to played, but I think if they can learn from their mistakes from last season and not get ahead of themselves and say, okay, we're 10, we still have more left to prove. Let's keep going out there, do what we did against the second half of Notre Dame, and maybe it'll pay off for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that the conversation is completely different, obviously, than what we would be having if we didn't get that 4th and goal play, right? I don't know that the season itself would have looked a whole lot different. In my preseason expectations, I still had us losing to Notre Dame but winning 10 games. I don't know that the season as a whole would have been that different, but I think especially in the in-season hype and discussions and things like that, that the media, if you will, are talking about is much, much different, obviously. I said last week that
we point at you last week for
Yeah.
farts, but you point at us as the media?
Yeah.
I'm offended.
Right.
I got Travis saying farts, guys.
I didn't bring that up, by the way. Y'all put that all on me. But yeah, I think a loss, it would be a little bit deflating, yes, but I still think the whole season would have been ahead of them. I said last week that we had a lot more to gain by winning than we had to lose by losing. I still believe that. And this puts us in a position to, I think if you're talking 12-team playoff and your goal is to try to get a playoff berth, I think this gives us some wiggle room down the road, especially in terms of an at-large bid, right? And obviously the goal is probably to get to Atlanta and win the SEC championship and get your automatic qualifier and stuff like that. But I think this really, really sets us on a much more forgiving path for an at-large bid at the very, very least. And I don't know about Florida State just yet, and I certainly don't know about Illinois. But I guess we'll get an answer to one of those questions this weekend.
Well, and it's
Wait.
probably something we'll get into. Oh, go ahead.
Hot take.
Hot take. Oh,
I found it. I found it.
I inspired
found
a
it.
hot take.
You did. Illinois is not going to be in the top 10 for very long.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. That's to my point when I was talking about how Ohio State, I had that at the beginning of the season, all of that stuff. I mean, it's stupid.
Yeah.
You don't find Illinois borderline erotic?
Well, so my point
Don't
exactly is what do you do if you're a Hog fan right now and you're sitting there looking at Illinois being number 9 and everybody's talking about not if but when Pittman is going to be fired. After a week of listening to your AD say, "Hey, we're not going to compete in national championship pictures for football in a really long time, but we're good at basketball and baseball," which I sent that to you and Tyler, and I think even Alex Egan, and y'all didn't find that to be a very big deal. And I don't know, man. That could be a whole other podcast discussion, but
I'm a little offended I'm not in the group chat.
if Trev Alberts is saying that at a school where football, yes, like a very good athletic program, top to bottom for the most part, excluding football, great in track, great in the non-revenue sports, fantastic pedigree in basketball and baseball, but your AD's sitting up there and saying, yeah, we're not going to be competitive in football for a while.
Well, and
and you just kind of have to deal with that. Like, if Trev Alberts said that, I'm not going to games anymore. Like, because what's the point?
First off, the group chat spawned off me, Tyler, Max roasting Alex Egan during the Dallas Stars Colorado Avalanche series because he's an Avs fan. But you're a hockey person, so we can get you in there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Secondly, I wasn't as affected by just the clip of Juracek when you sent it. The thing that actually kind of raised alarm bells for me is listening to the SEC teleconference yesterday. Sam Pittman was right before Mike Elko, and when he was asked about this comment, he kind of didn't really have an answer.
Yeah.
He kind of just said, we're in a position to be good at football and whatever. So more so maybe than just the comments there, because coaches have said, Nick Saban went off and said, we don't have any NIL money and we need more. It's a sales pitch at times. Sure. But I think when it's demonstrated that not only is he saying this, but it doesn't seem like the head coach and the athletic director are in line and coordination with each other on these things. That's probably even more concerning to me in that situation. When you look at the top 10, I think it's kind of like the Heisman race now. Everybody that you thought might be there has shown some flaws, shown some vulnerabilities, and I don't really know what the top 10, top 25 necessarily looks like right now. I mean, Oklahoma at 11, John Mateer looks like he could be the real deal. Iowa State is 4-0.
Yeah,
they're looking pretty good.
That Auburn game this weekend is huge.
Yes,
and it's huge for expectations for what we have going into next week. And it's another one of those games I kind of have no idea what's going to happen. I just give OU the edge because of their quarterback play, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you mentioned, like Mateer has passed all of the tests so far.
Ohio State is number 1 by virtue of beating Texas.
Yeah.
What is Texas after they had a little bit of an iffy bout with UTEP? I think LSU's defense might be the best in the country, but their offense, as Brian Kelly was asked about a little bit this weekend, is a little bit suspect. So I think this is one of the probably most fascinating top 25s this early in the season that we've seen in a while, because it could look completely different by the end of the season.
Yeah, I think
especially
so.
once you get into conference play.
Right, Florida State, Miami, all have conference play. Clemson's shown to not be super powerful right this second, but as Dabo told you for 45 minutes the other day, he wins a lot. And so I think that they still could take down a couple of those dudes. I mean, Georgia Tech obviously with their
how about
huge win.
Georgia Tech?
What if
how
they
about
keep rolling?
Vanderbilt?
Right,
Vanderbilt,
exactly.
I was shocked.
What if
when I saw Vanderbilt beat South Carolina? The matchup I'm interested in this week, though, is Miami, Florida. I want to watch that game. I think Miami's pretty dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I think they are a little bit slept on, and I think them going up against in-state rival SEC opponent, I think that is either going to show all of their flaws or they're going to be on top.
Yeah, I think Miami could have an argument to be number one right now with just by the eye test. So
Yeah.
interesting little shakeout there, Max. I kind of threw this one in here for you
Okay.
because it was a little bit of one of the highlights of Mike Elko's speech yesterday at the Houston Touchdown Club. You know, there's this plight that Aggies have. We won't name it by name, but we'll just call it existential dread that Aggies have.
Okay.
Historically, because of the way things have turned out, and you know, Mike Elko was kind of asked about this yesterday at the Houston Touchdown Club, and so let's hear what he had to say about Aggie existential dread when it comes to the football season and what his regime is doing about it.
Okay, let's start with this. I'm sorry, but I had nothing to do with the majority of it. So I want to make sure that that's made loud and clear to everybody in the audience. I think the second part of it is this. You love Texas A&M. You love Texas A&M football. So get excited. Stop being scared and get excited about this program and what this program is doing. And getting excited doesn't mean we need to stand on a podium and yell that we're the best. It doesn't mean that we have to scream from the top of the rafters that we've arrived and we're back and we're anything like that. But we can be excited about who we are, what our program stands for, what our program is doing, and know that there's going to be a roller coaster through wins and losses and results, but that these kids will continue to fight every week to make you as proud as you possibly can, and that this thing will end at some point with us in Atlanta in the SEC championship, in the playoffs, and going where we want to go.
So of course he said there that he is not really to blame for the existential dread
No.
that Aggies have, and he wanted to reiterate it's okay for A&M fans to be excited about Aggie football, and
Yeah.
especially after a win like that. Is Aggie existential dread exercised now because of Mike Elko?
No. I mean, short answer, but this definitely helped, right? And yeah, I don't think that if he contributed much to BAS, as some people call it, I don't think that we would have asked him to come back, right? Like in some of our worst Jimbo years, the highlight was how salty our defense was. Now, granted, that might be one of the things that we need to work on the most right this second, but that his pedigree is what brought him back, and I think a big reason why we actually won some big games in 2021, despite a disappointing season, was because of how good our defense was. But yeah, I think that was the center of a lot of conversations in a lot of text groups that I had, especially Saturday night, is like, yes, another Aggie team or any other Aggie team would have lost that game unless we had Johnny, right? I think Johnny was the ultimate BAS exerciser, but then we kind of settled back. We regress. People don't forget, I don't think, but like if you've been following A&M football for a while, before Johnny's Heisman season was a 7-6 campaign where all of the games we lost but one, we had double-digit leads going into halftime. And so for me personally, as an Aggie fan, everybody's got their BAS moment. That was mine right there. And the year before we lost 3 in a row, but then we, went off and won 6 in a row, and all of a sudden all was forgiven. But 2011 is where my BAS really started to take hold, and so that takes a long time to get rid of it. But when certain calls don't go your way, like when Terry Bussey runs it back for a touchdown, which ended up being a blessing because we were able to control the clock, you think, oh my gosh, man, we cannot catch a break after all that has happened this game. That's how this is going to go. But no, we have a quarterback who is clutch, never mind his completion percentage for that game, and we have a coach who knows how to win. Absolutely. I thought that last year.
And it was two holding calls that don't get
Right.
called and get
Sure.
called at the end.
Yeah.
Bounces your way. I mean, that's part
Whatever.
of.
Yeah, whatever. There was plenty of home cooking by the Notre Dame refs in other areas, maybe not quite as consequential, but there were other calls that could have gone the other way too. But I think also Elko put us in a position and put himself in a position where a lot was expected of him in year one. Like you mentioned earlier, being undefeated in conference play going into November or the last week of October.
I mean, having a shot at the title game all the way up to the last game.
All the way up to the last, like that had never happened before, right? And so he is the reason that these expectations have been lifted. And so, yes, he is exercising a lot of these demons within Aggie hearts, if you will, but it's not totally far away or gone away because there is still so much season left. There's so much. And maybe I'm looking about it all wrong. Yes, he said it's okay to be excited about it, but there's plenty to be anxious about too. There is a full SEC schedule ahead.
And to that point,
and Samford.
And to the top 10 ranking, I go back and think about 2016 when A&M in the first college football playoff ranking of the season was number 4. They go to Mississippi State. Trevor Knight gets hurt. They lose that game. They tailspin. Like, that's when I see A&M in the top 10. I think actually, if you want to talk about Elko exercising demons and eliminating existential dread, a win against Auburn in a week and a half would be huge to that, because it seems like whenever A&M gets into that prime conversation, they get the ranking.
Right.
The next game is the one that I mean, even last year, South Carolina started that little bit of that tumble. So I think that this Auburn game will be huge for that.
Over 40 years ago, my parents started C&J Barbecue, and today we continue to honor Dad's legacy with the best barbecue in the Brazos Valley. With locations on Harvey Road, Southwest Parkway, and our newest location on William O'Brien, we carry on our family tradition of serving up award-winning barbecue, sides, and desserts. We also offer delivery, catering, as well as custom menus and private chef services. Come visit us today for some of the best barbecue around. C&J Barbecue. The C is for Chip, the J is for Joe, and the barbecue is for you.
Let's go ahead and get into it's the conversation this week, because we don't have a matchup coming up. But the conversation this week, what did A&M learn from this Notre Dame win? What were some of your key observations? I'll start with Erin. What were some of your key observations from the Notre Dame win?
I think coming out in the second half and playing the way they did is definitely a key factor to how this game ended up in a win for them. I said it before when I was with David Nuno, but I think last season, and kind of going off it where, A&M fans and A&M, it just kind of seems like they, can't catch a break and all of that stuff, whatever, which, by the way, asking Max that question, that's like asking me if because Saban is gone, I don't have high expectations for Alabama. Like, the dread is always going to be there. I'm always going to have high expectations for Alabama. But with, he was talking about, injuries that happen. It's just they can't catch a break. And I think when Bryce Anderson went down, that could have been the moment where A&M fell apart because they just watched this really scary thing happen, or they played like they did and they said, you know what, we're picking up this win for him. And I think that was a key turning point for them to go into the second half and saying, you know what, no, we're getting this win for our guy Bryce, and this is what we're going to do, and that's how they played. So I think if they can manage to play the way they played that second half of football, and I think you said it best, we saw all of the puzzle pieces there in that second half, and we saw it work. Now we just need to see if they are able to do that going forward, doing that in SEC play, and I think Auburn's going to be a really big test.
Yeah, I think they learned, hopefully, they probably already knew this, but I think what I learned is that we can compete with anybody on the schedule, and the game's not over until it's over type of thing. It kind of reminds me of, was it Buzz's last season or his second to last season, where we'd go down by like 20 points and then we'd end up coming back and winning. That was the most recent season, I think. And I'm not comparing Buzz to Elko or anything like that, but it kind of, like, seeing that punt block for a touchdown, all of a sudden you're right back in your emotions and feels and stuff like that. But then right after that, you've got your home run threat that addresses it, and it's a brand new ball game. And I don't think that we've had that, and now we know that we do in a couple of different players on the field. And I don't even think we had that last year with Elko's first squad. So yeah, I think we can be in any game. I think, honestly, even bigger, I kind of buried the lead here, is that we can go out on the road and win a game where we aren't perfect. And I don't know that we had that ability last year. Like, yeah, we won a conference road game, which is escaping me right now. I can't even think. Oh, Mississippi State. But yeah, I think we went out there and we proved that like on a night where we're not perfect, we can still go in a hostile environment and actually win a game. Marcel proved again that he can lead a game-winning touchdown drive. And Elko loves to talk about this, about how against Auburn, against USC, the only problem with those games is that we left a little bit too much time on the clock, right? And is that the difference maker? Is that why we're sitting here talking about how we've arrived versus the way that the Auburn game stacked up and the USC game stacked up? Is that the problem was that we gave them one more defensive possession? Maybe we'll find out in the next 6 or 7 weeks. That's what I still need to know is, can our defense close out a game? Mm-hmm. And he said it in his post-game speech that, you know, the playmaking ability is absolutely there, which I think we learned that too. It's just there's still some stuff that the guys have got to learn. Like, there's physicality up front, although in my humble opinion, some of the linebacker play against the run was not fantastic. I still think that a lot of times they've been in position to make a play and just some mental lapses that I think can be corrected. And so the bye week comes at a good time, right?
Yeah, if you want to talk about defensive play, I actually think Damian Sanford had a great game filling in for Scooby Williams. He might have been the best linebacker on the field. The first thing I want to get to, the most fascinating thing I learned from this Notre Dame game, and that was actually talking to former Texas A&M offensive coordinator Darryl Dickey in our film study this week, so you can go back and watch that a little bit, is that fourth down play, the one that they ran there on 4th and 11 to win the game. That was the same play that A&M ran in the 7 overtime win over Notre Dame in 2018 to tie the game. It was Kellen Mond to Courtney Davis. The play was double post wheel, so you have 2 receivers on the left side running post routes. You have a tight end running a wheel route, and here Nate Borkacher was able to come down with it. Then it was Courtney Davis on one of the posts. You read it right to left in this situation, and Reed went down to his third read, threw a ball up there to Nate that he was able to go get, and it's cool. So you want to talk about iconic games that you remember that were important to Aggie lore. Those are 2 of them, and it's the same play. That was pretty cool to learn from him in this situation. But I think the thing that stood out to me the most was that Kellen Mond, it's Kellen Mond. I was thinking back to 2018.
Yeah.
Marcel Reed, more so than his passing ability or his run ability, he has the clutch gene.
Yeah.
He is able, if you give him the ball, in the 2 minutes left, late in the game, he has proven that he can get them down the field into a scoring position.
By pretty much any means necessary,
correct.
Right?
It was, and Elko mentioned this after the press conference. Last season, it was Auburn that he was able to get down there and get a score. It was USC. They were able to move down the field and get a late score. Didn't end up working out for them in those 2 games. But in this game, he was able to work down, and it did work out for them. So, yeah, I think the reason why he gets the credit he gets in that game, despite throwing under 50% completion percentage, is the fact that he has that it factor, the clutch factor, that if the ball is in his hands with 2 minutes left, you know A&M is at least going to have a chance to try to win it, tie it, whatever, down the line, because he's going to move the ball down the field. Real quick, though, let's look a little bit deeper at Marcel Reed's first couple of games, because Mike Elko did come out and kind of his opening statement from the game afterwards was that Marcel Reed has arrived as a passer. So far this season, he is 58.6%, 869 yards, 9 touchdowns, 1 interception. He has 4 big-time throws, according to Pro Football Focus, which is like a throw that's in a tight window. That's a really hard. He had to be very accurate, and it's usually further downfield. But he also has 4 turnover-worthy plays. All 4 of those were against Notre Dame this weekend. Again, he was going against a tough defensive secondary. Now, here's the thing that I think was the biggest, for as much as the clutch gene, for getting them down, getting them to be able to score, was the A-plus part of his game. The thing that is concerning a little bit is passes over 20 yards. He's 6 for 19. a touchdown and an interception, especially down the left side of the field. Just not necessarily that deep ball just isn't there. If he connects on a few more of those deep balls, a little bit more accurate, that game doesn't even go down to the wire, I don't think.
Yeah, you're probably right. I think he's going to hit those passes, and I think it's going to happen this year. That may be the BAS being overcome in my heart, but I think that he was closer that game than he was to start the season, right? Because everybody likes to bring up that errant throw where Casey was wide open and overshot him by a mile. But I don't know. In one of those plays, it was Amari Niblack. I still think Niblack. I think he reached for the ball too early. I still think he could have caught that, but that's just me. Anyway,
Aaron, what did you think of Marcel's performance, Aaron?
Well, first, with the overthrowing on Casey, I actually think it's very funny that Max mentions that, because when we were preseason, I believe it was preseason, or maybe it was after. No, it was definitely preseason. We had Ashton Bethel Roman talking at one of the player availabilities, whatever it was, and when he was describing if Marcel was a passer or not, he actually said, yeah, he's sometimes throwing the ball over my head, like he's throwing it past me. And he used that as a positive to Marcel's passing ability, which I think is ironic, because you look at Marcel overthrowing a pass in a game and you're like, oh God, what is he doing? But they see it as a positive. So I think he has the ability to hit those passes once the time comes and everything. But at Notre Dame, I want to talk about having that clutch gene, because I think having that clutch gene as a quarterback is the difference maker on if you can go yard or not. Because I'm going to bring up Tua Tagovailoa, 2018 national championship game. He has said publicly, I think he was in an interview, whatever it was sit down, and he was talking about how when he pissed off Saban the most is when he took that sack right before 2nd and 26. And 2nd and 26 won them that national championship. That was the game winner. And so, yeah, he took the sack, but he came up clutch, threw it downfield to Devontae Smith, and they walked away with a national title.
That's a really good point.
I think having that clutch gene really is the difference maker. But I think he showed it in this game against Notre Dame. And then the play call that was exactly the same from LSU. It's two completely different coordinators. How does that happen?
Typical. It was a pretty fundamental passing concept.
It's weird that it happened twice, though.
Yeah, pretty fundamental. But it's one that Darryl Dickey said just is really effective in the red zone. Ironically, actually, you can even go back to the fact that in the win A&M had over Colorado in 2021 at Empower Stadium, the one touchdown they scored, it was to Isaiah Spiller. Was the
wheel
exact
route.
was double post wheel. Now, it wasn't the tight end running the wheel; it was Isaiah Spiller running the wheel in that game. And so it's a pretty common.
And
you actually probably know the football X's and O's better than
I was
going to
say, and A&M defense historically has gotten burned on wheel routes before. Like it's just it's a spot that is oftentimes not necessarily not accounted for, but is maybe like missed. And if you go back and you look at that 2018 game, Sternberger was wide open. I don't know that he could have made it to the end zone, because this was as the clock was expiring, so this had to be the last play, which is why I think is the biggest reason that Kellen threw it to him. But yeah, Sternberger was wide open at like the 7, I think, maybe the 5.
Yeah, because that was from 19 yards out.
Right. And so like he would have caught the pass. I don't know if he would have made it to the end zone. But yeah, sometimes teams just don't respect the wheel route. And I can think of several different occasions where I've watched the A&M defense do that. In fact, that happened with, I can't remember if it was Love or Price, but it was pretty much wide open going down the right side of the field, and that ended up being a touchdown for them in the second half too.
And because they were in man, you
Right.
have a situation where the safety is going to take one of the routes. The corner is probably going to take another route, and you have a mismatch on the wheel with a linebacker and a tight end, which if it's in man, that makes it easy. If it's in zone, there's a lot of times where it makes it really easy on the quarterback because you read the safety, you see if he's going inside or outside that route. So the next read is, okay, well, either that guy or that guy is open, and then the next step is all you have to do is read the corner. So it makes it a lot really easy for the quarterback to read as well.
And that was also a go up and get it play too, because that linebacker, 34, who is just in our face the entire game, like he was on Borkature, but Borkature just used his body and opened himself up to it and caught the pass.
I'll have a feature come out. I talked to his parents yesterday, and they said for as good as he was at football, he was equally as good as basketball. And his dad kind of laughed. It kind of looked like he was boxing the guy out a little bit for a rebound.
Bussy boxed one of those Notre Dame defenders out on that Mario Craver spin cycle. I think it was Bussy. It could have been KC, but yeah, that's an added skill. And of course, we know by now the whole story about it. Who he's like, I didn't even see that ball until it was basically in my hands. So I mean, Marcel put it where it needed to be.
Also, though, that kind of does speak to his quarterback intelligence.
Absolutely.
Which, I mean, I think, this wheel play, it's obviously, it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's a standard play, right? So that's what we're seeing. So in a standard play, you should be able to read in moments like that. But again, you bring back in the clutch gene where, it's coming down to the wire. If he makes this touchdown pass, A&M's winning the game. Mm-hmm. And you're under a lot of pressure, you're doing all of that stuff, but still he had the intelligence there to go and do it. And I think that was probably one of the most impressive things that I've seen from him.
And exactly right.
I think he also, he mentioned this in the post-game presser too, is that he kind of, obviously their reads 1 and 2 is KC and Mario, but he kind of assumed that they would be either doubled up or locked up because that's who you're trying to protect against the most in the last play of the game, right? Is get it to one of the playmakers. And I don't know that Borkature had a ball thrown to him other than that play, right? And so I think that's kind of where Marcel was already kind of thinking, this is probably the third read that I'm throwing to. And so pretty quickly it looked like, he knew he was going to have to make that throw. And it was great.
Borkature's parents said, he's always somehow, for some reason, been, kind of Marcel's always been tagged as a running quarterback. Primarily, he's always been tagged as a blocking quarterback, but if you ask anybody who's known him for most of his life, his hands are his best asset.
Yeah, Marcel said as much too. Mm-hmm. He's like, he's probably got the best hands on the team.
Mm-hmm.
So now all of a sudden, I mean, that's another guy you got to account for. Like, Colin Klein is salivating every time he gets on offense because there's just so much opportunity. And you're right, the deep throw is still not there, but I do think it's closer. And if you unlock that, the sky's the limit. Like even if you still have questions on defense, that you have several home run threats on offense at any given point, anytime you get the ball. Like, we're in a game against anybody. It's a long season, obviously, but.
And Klein said that he's not fearful of throwing it to any of the tight ends.
No.
So that's, just.
And one day,
well, you mentioned here, one target, one catch. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and Nyblack is going to connect with Reed at some point. Mm-hmm. They have tried it a couple of different times. It is going to happen, and it's probably going to be in another one of those situations where we need it to happen, and it's going to click. It will click with those two with that quarterback and receiver at some point.
I want to throw up the other few tidbits here on Marcel Reed. When you look at passes 10 to 19 yards, he's pretty golden. 15 of 24. That's where 4 of his touchdowns, 9 touchdowns have come from. 300 yards have come from that range. And deep center, that's past 20 yards, deep center, 4 for 8, 115 yards, a touchdown. Yeah. He is really good at that deep center pass. It's just kind of to the flanks, which is a tougher pass, a little bit more touch to the flanks. So he does. It has been a little bit of a mixed bag when it comes to how the passing has looked. But again, we go back to, and you said it so well, Erin, the clutch gene is really what matters the most. Can you make that one throw, get it to Nate, the tight end, perfectly? And he did that at the end. Real quick, we'll close the book on the conversation here with just what is the thing that you want to look from A&M to improve on after the first segment of the season?
I hate to say fundamentals, but I feel like that's something you address every bye week anyway, is kind of just a reset and getting back to the basics and stuff like that. I don't think that we have been awful against the run, and I still don't think the sample size is good enough. I mean, Robert Henry, obviously, he was a problem, but I mean, he has continued to be a problem, even in their losses. And we went up against what everybody has been saying is the two best running backs in the nation, duo, right? I still want to see improvement. And we did when it mattered, obviously, because we got the win. But there were a couple of red zone stops that led to, or non-stops, I should say, that led to touchdowns that I want to see cleaned up. And again, I'm not a defense guy. I don't know exactly how that happens. Yes, we need to improve on the deep ball. The run offense, I think, is maybe not as good as I was hoping it would be at this point as well. But that also hasn't quite mattered as much. So I want to see us becoming more of a complete team as we go. I want to see us stay healthy too. But yeah, I'm kind of just like full speed ahead at this point.
Erin?
Yeah, I think Max said it best. I think red zone stops are definitely something that can be worked on. And that run defense, I mean, it's something that we've seen consistently over the first 3 games, and it's gotten a little bit better each time. But I think, especially now getting into SEC play, that's going to be something that needs to really come full force. And then on the offense, Max, you mentioned, the run offense for that matter of fact. It does concern me a little bit that maybe they're trying so hard to push this narrative that Marcel is this dual threat QB and he can throw the ball and he can do all of that stuff, that they're maybe not relying on the running backs as much. But I think if they really want to have this, I mean, like you said, Klein salivating over this offense. I mean, if we really want that, I think that needs to become balanced out. And I think they need to start relying on Le'Veon Moss and all those guys just as much as they're relying on Mario Craver.
Well, to be fair, Le'Veon Moss had 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So
yes, he did.
Yeah. Red zone offense, I think, is great. Red zone defense, I think, needs some improvement. And also, I hate to say third and Elko, but there were some third and longs that should have turned to fourth downs that just didn't. And again, that could be a testament to CJ Carr being a very good quarterback and him executing well and finding the hole in the zone well, and us maybe not getting to the passer quick enough and stuff like that. But that obviously needs to be cleaned up too.
My 2 things. First, especially from the Notre Dame game, penalties. And especially penalties at just like the worst possible time.
Exactly.
I think the Des Ricks personal foul that kind of pushed them from I think they were at second or third down into a first down, and they were able to continue. The 2 procedural penalties that backed them up to 4th and 11 before that play, just kind of cleaning up. I think Demetrius Crownover had 3 or 4 penalties in that game. The offensive line especially needs to clean up penalties at inopportune times. And then the second thing, Mike Elko kind of talked about it a little bit yesterday at the Houston Touchdown Club. These teams know that A&M has the stable of running backs, so they've dared them to beat them on the outside. Well, now A&M has proven that they are very well capable of beating teams on the outside. When defenses start to have to maybe balance out a little bit, can the run defense step up and carry the load when it needs to, if they're going to maybe go dime or something like that and open up some running lanes in the middle of the field? Because it's going to happen. If the offense keeps clicking with Craver and Concepcion like it has been, they're going to have to put some more attention on those guys, and it's going to open up the running lanes. There's going to be a game where the running offense is going to have to carry the load. Can they do it?
Yeah, and like, especially if you're talking a possession battle too, right? Sometimes the side effect of having that home run threat is that your defense gets really tired. I think that was probably the biggest indictment on a Sumlin football team. Is we can score, but the problem is our defense is worn out because the time of possession is so out of whack, which I think Klein's better at that. But I think if you're just looking a week ahead, which we are getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, Auburn's got some talented receivers. Mm-hmm. I have a question of whether or not the quarterback can efficiently and consistently get it to them. But if he does, the defensive backs have got to be ready for that.
Well, that's a perfect tease for next week.
Sure.
So we'll be back next week for that. Let's quickly go around the SEC. I have a fun one here. Mostly it's it's personal to me, and that is a man was thrown out of Palm Beach airport because he was refusing to leave a airport lounge. Now,
Okay.
I recently, my wife and I got one of the credit cards that gives you lounge access, and I got this because one Tyler Shaw had a similar card, actually the same card, and we got to go to lounge access after the SEC media day. And let me tell you, my life was changed.
It's pretty cool.
And
Pretty
I don't
cool.
know. I don't blame this guy, actually.
Yeah.
He did not have permissions to be in there, whether it be a card or whatever. That's why he got
Okay.
thrown out. He didn't have, but I'm telling you, I might do the same thing. I'm not. It is great. They have free drinks.
Man.
They have food. They have comfortable chairs. If I'm in airports like, I don't know if I have access to lounges here, but like Vegas or St. Louis, those are really uncomfortable airports.
Yeah,
I would love to be in a lounge.
I was going to say the lounge access is the difference between, oh my God, my flight got delayed, or my flight got this, that, the other, and, oh, all right, well, I'll just sit here for another half hour, 45 minutes in the lounge. Like, that is the difference maker at an airport experience. I've only gotten to do it like twice, but
Oh, it's magical.
It's
Have you
nice.
gotten a lounge experience?
I have. My mom has access. My mom travels a lot for work, so she has a bunch of points with Delta,
Lucky.
and she has the Delta Sky Lounge and all of that stuff. So anytime I'm flying with her and the airport has the Delta Sky Lounge, we'll go to it. So I have been to the lounge many of times. And I mean, yeah, it's nice. Me personally, I've flown so much just between college and then living in Arizona and all of that stuff that I don't feel like I need it. I've been in the lounge and I love it. It's really nice. You get free drinks and all of that stuff, whatever. Regardless, if you're flying on a Sunday out of Texas, apparently you can't drink. So that was a fun
Dang.
one to learn. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, it's obviously nice if my mom says, hey, I can get you access to the Sky Lounge. I'm not going to say no, but
Yeah.
I don't necessarily need it when I'm traveling.
Well, apparently, I have a pampered tushy because
Yes.
I want
yes.
the soft seats
Mm.
and the free drinks, the free food.
I want that too, Travis. We all want that.
The nice for me. It's also when we're on these work trips, the nice desk to put your laptop. So you're not having to put your laptop on your knees. Work over there. I love me a good. So I guess the question is, if the lounge was right there, would you try? Would
You
you
just
try
walk
sneaking
in.
Would you try? And
Yes.
Would you throw a fit if they tried to throw you out?
I would
I
throw a
might.
fit if they threw me out, but
might.
I'm not above sneaking in.
I might.
Like-
See, my thing is that if I snuck in, I'm not getting caught.
I
I wouldn't
I
even
love it.
need it. I would not get caught.
Because if someone tried to take you out of there, you're gonna Nerf gun.
Oh, absolutely, of
Yeah,
course.
Just right and leave a welt right on the forehead.
Right in the forehead.
They'll be so dazed they'll forget you're even there.
No, there were many a times in high school when I was going to like concerts and all of that stuff. The amount of times I've been able to sneak into the pit at a concert and not get caught and live my best life should be a world record. I'm just saying.
I mean, I think
I'll
we all
remember
agree
that.
that lounges are living your best life.
Yes.
like you said. So, yeah, I don't blame this guy one bit down there in Florida. Florida, of course, is getting a large brunt of the around the SEC,
As we expected.
As we might need to keep a tally of which
Yeah.
states are getting the love for around the SEC. Well, that's all the time we have. Thanks so much for joining us here on another edition of the Aggie Gameday Extra Podcast. Be sure to check us KBTX.com for continuing coverage of the open week, and as we gear up for Auburn, be sure to see these guys on KBTX's broadcast. I don't have to ask you about a forecast this week because
Nope.
and it seems
I'm
like
off
it's gonna
this
be
weekend.
Beautiful weather.
Maybe. Could be really hot. We'll see. It's
Okay.
September.
Yeah, fair.
I'm not going outside.
She's just gonna hang out with wasps. So for Erin Patterson, Max Crawford, I am Travis Brown. This is the Aggie Game Day Extra Podcast. We'll see you next week.